Hi, everyone. I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about the Excel project in Chapter 2 and how you should proceed with completing the activity itself. Now, I know a lot of us say, oh, I know Excel. I know how to do this. What you have to be careful of is that Connect expects you to complete the project in a certain way. For instance, in the very first problem, you're asked to complete an income statement for a company. And this is already populated in the problem itself. So that's not something you have to worry about, as well as the word revenue. So what it's asking you to do is now list all the revenues. And so up above is the data you have. So there's specific revenues there. I just put one just to show you how you should enter the information. So I know I have to put the information in this cell, revenue, down here in the answer key cell. So when I click on that cell, I could see it is cell B2. Well, I'm going to wait. Well, really, I'm going to come down here to where I have to put my answer and either put a plus or an equal sign and then B12. Oh, I'm sorry, B2. I'm looking at the wrong. It's early in the morning. So that should be equals B2. Okay. And it highlights to say, oh, okay, that's the cell we're going to put in there. And you could see it puts the word revenue. Then I know in this column to the right, I want the dollar amount up here in C2 to be in that cell. So this time I'm going to put plus C2. So this is how you have to enter the information. Now, the next thing, this was already populated expenses, but then I want the information. So you're going to have to cite each specific expense by cell. I only have one. It's B3. So I want the word. Don't forget your plus sign or else it's just going to put, like if you just go B3, that's what you're going to get there. So when you put a plus or an equal sign, it knows, oh, I got to put the information from the cell being referenced in this cell. And then I'm going to do the same thing with C3. Okay, so that's how you enter the information, specific revenues and expenses. Now, I'm going to put another expense here just so you can see, because you're going to have a few expenses. So now I'm going to put plus B4 and plus C4. Okay, now how do you total your expenses? Well, some of you might say, well, I could just keep putting plus, 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 plus. That is one way, but what Excel and Connect wants you to do is the easiest way. So when you have a list of numbers that you want to add up, you could do what's called the sum function or formula. And that is simply equals the word sum. And you can see it pops up here. It's like, oh, I know that formula. Excel knows that you want to use that formula. And it starts telling you what to do. The first thing you want to do is open with a parenthesis. And then it says, oh, now you want to put number 1, number 2, number 3, etc. But here's how you add a range of cells. What's the first cell in the range? Well, it's C13. Then you put a colon and put the last cell in the range that you want added, and that would be C14. Now you're going to have a longer range of cells, but that's how you sum a range of cells. Close your parenthesis or else you'll get an error. So just don't add the numbers up and enter the number. You have to use formulas. Okay. And I believe total expenses is already in your activity. Here's the next part. The next thing you want to do is determine net income. So the first thing you do, and you do it just like you always have, subtract expenses, total expenses from total revenue, but do it by cell references. So total expenses are in C15, total revenues are in C11. So I'm going to go plus C11 minus C15. enter. Don't forget those pluses and minuses. Okay. You saw the sum function here. You saw how to add individual cells. Now the last one, and this is the toughie, it's called the if statement. You just don't put net income in there. You want Excel to determine if this is a net income or net loss and to enter the proper cells. So we put an equal sign to always start a formula and if. And it's basically going to run a test. And it says, if this test is true, Excel, put these words or put this information in this cell. If it's not true, then put this. And you can see it says right here, checks whether a condition is met and returns one value if the condition is met and another value if it isn't. You always start it with a parenthesis. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to put if. Now, C16, where we have our net income, because that's what we're testing, is greater than or equal to 0. So that's our test. If net income, C16, the 65,000, is greater than or equal to 0, now put a comma, because you separate these by commas. What do we want there if that's true? We want the words net income. So whenever you want to populate words in the cell, use quotations. So we're going to start our quote, net income. End your quote. So that's if it's true, comma. Now let's put our value if it's false. Start your quotation, net loss. End your quotation. End your parenthesis. Enter. Okay, so you can see the words automatically populated there. I'm just going to come over here and just put a negative number in just so you could see how it works. So let's say I have negative 3,000. It automatically changes. So you don't have to be in there going, oh no, it's a net loss and it still says net income. We design our Excel spreadsheets so that if information changes in the future, it automatically changes. So we could keep using our spreadsheets over and over. And in business, that's what we do. Okay, so you might say, oh, I know an easier way to get to the answer. That's not what we're doing here. We're learning how to design spreadsheets with cell references and formulas as we do in the business world. Okay, so that is how we use plus and minus to get to answers, sum function, and the if function or formula, if you want to call it the formula. Now, one other thing is in problem 2, it's like a puzzle. So remember, you're going to be using maybe your sum function and you're adding and subtracting of cells. You're still approaching it with cell references the same way. For instance, I'll just do a really quick thing here. I know in one part it says assets and it might have cash, accounts receivable, supplies, and total assets. Okay, and the actual cash might be 10,000, accounts receivable is blank, supplies is 2,000, and total assets are 50,000. It's saying solve for accounts receivable. Well, we know when we add all of our assets together, that equals total assets. So we can say, okay, F, so always use your plus or equal to start a formula. F 13, I think it is, nope. 12, nope. 11, there we go. F11 is our total assets. If we subtract F9 and F7, which is the dollar amounts for supplies and cash, that should give us our proper amount of accounts receivables. So that's how you have to maneuver through problem 2. Okay, so I just wanted to spend a few minutes, make sure you understood what we were looking for and how to approach this Excel assignment.